Cool, thanks. Hello. I only have 30 minutes and I have slides for 4 hours, so you better follow me now. I have some important things to say, as always. And as always, I want to tell you guys what to code in Kamailio and where to go and what to buy on the SIP market. Jiri was perfectly right earlier when he said there was some serious mistakes done when designing SIP. And SIP, the version 2.0 that we're using today, has been upgraded many times. We added stuff, but no one is really using it. And I've been talking about this for a long time. We need this, we need TLS, we need that. And now we're actually facing it in the real world. I actually have a situation now with a real network where we're facing dual stack problems. All the problems I've been trying to tell the IETF and the SIP forum about for 5 years, they're hitting us right now. So we really need to update our SIP. For a long time, this was the problem we solved. Replacing that old Ericsson phone is one of the first generation phones from Ericsson. We've been running SIP in closed networks, typically over a separate VLAN in the office, with ISDN or copper cables leaving the office, but not SIP out there. We've been living in a very closed world, replacing the ISDN, and how fun is that, really? And for this, maybe SIP 2.0 works. But where we are today is that for some reasons, we're looking at new connections. TLS, TCP, WebSockets. We're using SIP trunks over the internet. And we're even selling hosted PBX services where the PBX, the SIP server phones are in customer premises. Or on the cell phone in the Wild West network that the carriers provide us with, right, Simon? So we have these new environments, and these give us new challenges. And we need to look at the new solutions, because there are other solutions than just the plain old ISDN over IP. I work 1 or 2 days a week with radio broadcast. There's a European Broadcast Union standard for using SIP for live sports comments, for sending interviews from the European Parliament. We're using all kinds of devices, from satellite radios in cars with a SIP box in there, or soft phone applications on iPhones. SIP for air traffic control is another standard, and that, boy, that feels fun playing around with. You feel like someone from a movie. Oh, pilot, you're ready to land on runway 5. But there's actually a SIP standard for that. Kind of weird the way they do things. I recently got called up at the national TV in Sweden, and obviously I saved a very important broadcast. They were using SIP, and actually, Matt, where are you? They were using Asterisk to coordinate all the TV people alongside the ski race. So we're facing totally new areas. For hosted PBXs, well, of course, we have the good old NAT. As a consultant, I love it. Imagine the amount of hours I've sold handling NAT problems. I don't want it to go away ever. So forget all the shit about IPv6. I'll force you to use NATs there as well. Firewalls and application level gateways. Charging goes up. Really cool. Dual stack networks, you'll soon hit the problems. We see it in real live networks today. We have mobile carriers adding IPv6 and putting IPv4 on carrier grade NAT. Gotta love it. So we have all the kind of challenges here that we need to look at. SIP over WebRTC, I mean, come on. RTPS over VPF? Try to put that to an old Cisco phone, your favorite 7960 Cisco phone, and it will choke. The STPs? Good! I mean, I have my 1500 bytes on UDP. Come on. I need to use it for important stuff, like important session cookies. In this case, the connection turns into the login status. The connection is the availability. And that's not how we design SIP from start. That's Jabber, that's XMPP. But that's exactly where SIP is going, right? Over mobile networks, well, the carriers are putting all kinds of boxes in the middle to manage sessions and limit session and manage traffic, so it doesn't work like the internet. You believe you have a registration, you believe that they can call you because you have a registration, but no. The computer says no. And we see all kinds of funny stuff happening on these networks. And the most important problem that we spend hours and hours on, how do we send a VoIP call to the handset? How do we wake it up? Because there's no flow, there's no registration, there's nothing. The connection, again, is your best friend. The connection is the login. You need to know that you have a live working IP flow in order to connect to these devices. So the first solution is called SIP Outbound. And it's actually pretty cool, right? Because when you register, you set up one or more working flows, and the server knows that this is the device because we suddenly have a device ID that was missing in SIP. We can fail over on your connections. You can have one connection over IPv4, one over IPv6, one over Wi-Fi, one over 4G. And we can fail over between them. Sweet, right? So this is really cool, and it's a really, really good solution for TLS as well. Because without Outbound, every SIP phone needs to have a working certificate, TLS certificate, for the current contact URI. I would love to sell you certificates for that. Oh, you changed IP. Oh, new certificate. $100 per week. So with Outbound, my business model for selling TLS certificates for the phone dies because the server is allowed to use the inbound connection flow for outbound messages. Hooray! Right? Customers hasn't seen the need, and developers think this is awfully complex. I've been trying to test it as SIP for a long time. Kamailio is sitting there waiting for connections because we have it. What about the asterisk, Matt? No. Right. No one asks for it. No one wants it. But we're seeing these problems every day, problems that Outbound will actually solve, and people are inventing other solutions when we have one, and especially with TLS. What we're looking at now is trying to document what we actually already do, because Kamailio has been cheating here for a long time, because we can't set up a TCP connection over a NAT. We actually look for an existing connection and we reuse it, thus breaking the RFC. This was never documented in any RFC. So we need to document that connection reuse and make it legal and RFC compliant and look at it a bit more. Solution number 2 we need for NATs is, of course, ICE. And you all know ICE. Finding the best media path possible. I don't know. The napkin industry must hate ICE because I spent millions of napkins trying to solve this problem before. People that come to me and say, oh, can't Asterisk do this and figure this out? And I found standard answer for all the proposals saying, no. We have to bring media all the way up. Computer says no. Network says no. With ICE, we're testing every possible connection. And you know what? We can test both IPv4 and IPv6, both Wi-Fi and 4G from the cell phone, and find the best possible media path. That sounds wonderful, and it is. So what's the downside? Well, finding out the best media path takes time. And if I place a call and I see you answering, I want to start talking, but we have no audio. Users. Werner from Telenor loved the users. In some cases, they're boring because they actually want to talk. Hey, we're setting up a phone call, we have all the SIP working, but they want the media. And they want it now, or a few moments before now. So there is a lot of tricks. You can do eyes at early media before the answer. You can actually have a quick selection at answer and then restart eyes and find the best possible media path later. There's a new set of documents here coming up from one of our friends, Emil Evov, called Trickle Eyes, that we really should use. But eyes is something that we require to solve real-world problems with live broadcast. You should require it when you buy phones. So all the phone manufacturers start doing this. All the soft phones you use have been doing this for years because they are on cafes, hotels, all the crazy networks everywhere. Your customers will be there soon. Of course, IP networks doesn't work like ISDN. IP networks keep varying. Bandwidth, latency, packet loss, everything keeps changing. Using a codec that was built for a non-changing network doesn't really work on IP. And that's why we in the IETF produced Opus. So we look during the call on the feedback from the network. The network is telling us a lot of stuff, and we dynamically change. Tim, where are you? You're over there. Tim and I actually tested it by mistake. We had a call in the wonderful app Wire, and I was guarding a dog and had the door open. It was a beautiful summer day, and the dog, of course, saw a bird. And while talking to Tim, I ran out of my house and up towards my neighbor, caught the dog, ran back, and Tim said, "That's excellent. I heard Opus going down, and then as you run back or going down, can you let the dog down again?" And that's how you implement Opus. Alan and the team, they know their audio. They know how to do this, right? But in many cases, when I test Opus, they treat it like ISDN. The code locks it at a certain level. They don't care about the network telling us a lot of things that's going on during the call. So it's like ISDN Opus. Don't accept that. You want Opus to follow your network, always giving you the best possible audio stream. That's why we have Opus. And then TLS, of course. I've been talking about that for a long time, and now people are starting to wake up. We're actually deploying TLS. After more than, I think, 8 or 10 years of talking TLS and SIP, people are starting to deploy it. Yes, things are happening out there. But very few devices do it right. You must help me require vendors to do things right. We need SIP outbound, otherwise you end up with certificates in every phone. No good, right? And SIP outbound, well, I talked about that. We still need half outbound. And, well, we have cocktails tonight. We're going to spend the whole party discussing all my issues. So prepare, read RCs, and we'll solve the problem over a glass of wine. SRTP then. Who thought that exchanging key material in clear text was a good thing? Man, wake up. Oh, I want to talk secretly. Here's my key. I actually met the guy who proposed this once, and he said, "Gosh, are you still using it? That was the most stupid idea I ever had." And I had a plentiful of them. Yeah, no. In WebRTC, we killed that whole idea. We successfully killed the idea of sending keys in clear text. So why the hell are we still doing it in SIP? Well, it's better than nothing. We get opportunistic crypto. You get some sort of protection when you're placing calls in coffee shops and other things, but it's not security, not at all. And we really, really want this to happen, but it's you and your customers and your money that's going to make it happen. And of course, WebRTC pushes in. If we want the desktop hardware phone to talk with WebRTC, well, we need DTLS key exchange, right? But help us. What about Kamailio in all this? I keep teasing Matt over there, but let's look at ourselves for a while. Kamailio has improved a lot. If you look at the 4.4, we have a lot of cool stuff in there. We have the connection management. We have event routes when a WebRTC socket closes or when a TCP socket closes. We manage our connections, and you can actually put triggers in the routing script. Thank you, all developers who helped me. I asked for it for a long time, and other guys coded it. That's brilliant. That's open source. We also have functions now to unregister when the connection closed, because the registration, in most cases, when people have NAT, and most people have NAT, becomes useless. So even if it's valid for another 30 minutes, we take it away. So that's really, really good. Kamailio is ready to rock in your network now. But we have a few things to do. But what you should do is SIP outbound, TLS, SRTP, DLS, key exchange requirements, full Opus, not ISDN Opus, right? That's just Opus in disguise. Support our work in the IETF starting tonight at the cocktail party. But let's look at what's going on in the IETF. I still have a few minutes. We're working with identity handling. This was actually forced upon the IETF by the FCC. They said, you either solve this problem or we're going to force new laws because people are faking caller IDs in the PSTN. And we see that problem everywhere. I'm not really sure that this is, like Jiri said, too much committee work. They're trying to come up with something to satisfy the FCC, but no one will ever bloody bother with it. Or if it's something that's actually going to happen. They're talking PKI-like structures with certificate delegation and things that I don't see any coder really using or any call center bothering with because it's too complex for them. But the discussions are very interesting, and hopefully this can bootstrap a real discussion, not forced upon us by someone else, about what's the ID and how can we secure the ID in Jabber, SIP, because we have the same problem, and other protocols. In SIP core, my work on dual stacks and IPv6 migration issues is actually making progress. Dale Worley came in and said, I'm going to run this, I'm going to help you. And he's an IETF veteran. He's used to this way of working much more than I. So we're working together. The first draft is in working group last call. Yay! It just took 5 years. And basically, we're trying to change an OR to an AND. In one of the core RFCs, the text says, the client, when trying to find an IP address, needs to find an IPv4 or IPv6 address. Fail. We need both. And we need to select the best connection of the two. So that OR is a serious problem. And we're getting there. And the next step is even more interesting, is actually using this address to set up a working connection. Because the web browsers have had a serious problem that they fixed with something called happy eyeballs, which I can explain over cocktails later on. But if you first try IPv4 and you wait for timeouts, and TCP, a failure in setting up a TCP can take up to 2 minutes on Linux system, and then you set up IPv6, people would have called support before they even try the working connection. You don't want that. So for connection-oriented protocols like TCP and TLS, just use the HTTP stuff and we're going to be happy, right? For UDP, can't we kill it? Kill it softly, but seriously? Isn't there a Romanian method to really kill UDP? Because it's really complicated when you have no connection. We're always, with all solutions we look at, we're going to lose our round trip. And no one wants to lose a round trip. 32 seconds with standard SIP tamers, no. So, yeah. But I actually have a few carriers call me, large SIP development companies call me and discuss because they're facing this right now. This is real. Dual stacks are coming your way. It's not the talk we had 15 years ago. We also discussed stronger authentication. I saw that we just got a new code submitted to Kamailio for stronger authentication. Yeah, that was our first idea in SIP. But then we thought about how to migrate. It's really hard because there's a lot of room for downgrade attacks and so. And then we said, shit, we need something completely different than digest authentication. And we went looking, and we found the web guys. Those are the cool dudes that have sexy conferences, and they have plenty of girls in the conferences. Just a tip, but stay here. There are methods coming up from that area called OAuth and SAML2. So we looked at them for a while and said, well, yeah, and Rifat wrote a draft about how this could be used in the SIP protocol just as a test. But we're still trying to find out what is the problem we're trying to solve. How should we handle authentication really if we restart this work? And is the web world doing the right thing? Yeah, obviously with the girls, but we're looking at that. So we're not really sure where to go here. The funny part of this story is that the 3G people, they saw this document by Rifat about OAuth and SIP and said, oh, okay, is this the way they're going? And it was just an experiment. But they took it and made it a standard in 3G. And we're like, what? This was just having fun. Anyway, in the SIP forum side, we're upgrading SIP Connect. SIP Connect is a standard for SIP trunking. And I've been involved here creating a lot of problems for them because I found a lot of issues with their IPv6 because we're adding IPv6 and we sorted that out. Many more issues with TLS, and we're almost there. I agreed on accepting that they're proposing something that is totally against some RFCs, but we'll come back and they will buy me a glass of wine and we'll sort out and write new documents in the IETF. But there are things happening with SIP Connect that you will want to watch. It's getting much better. Kamailio is almost there, but we have no gin support. I guess you know gin and tonic, but how many here knows gin? Bulk network contact registration. That's basically what you do when you register for a bunch of phone numbers and you want the other side not to send you the call to your contact, but to add the phone number the call is directed to the request URI coming in. And this is something that everyone selling hosted PBX trunks or PBX trunks wants to do. I actually made a patch for Asterisk, so Asterisk can register for gin now, if Matt wants to go ahead and commit that code. But we have it in production. I haven't really looked at Kamailio, but I know that we haven't got the support. We may be able to do this in the scripts, but I think the registrar needs it. So in Kamailio, what we need to do for 5.0, the real-time communications core, we need to improve TLS validations in connections. I know I've been forcing Daniel to do some code here, and he gave it back to me, and we're still discussing. Probably need a few more transactions of beers and wines and stuff. Gin would be nice if customers require it. We need to start working on dual stack issues. We need to have happy eyeballs. We need to be the reference implementation here before customers say that this just doesn't work. And we have incomplete IPv6 source address selection. When you have multiple IPv6 addresses, and you always have it, you need to select the proper one. And that goes for a lot of your software out there as well. So here's the workflow proposal. 5.0 planning over beer and or wine. I will invite the developers to Sweden where we can continue that. Hacking, hacking, hacking. Then we get to the oh no moment. Or hopefully the oh yes, the shit works, like in Telenor. But if we get to the oh no moment, back to step one. I think most of the developers are used to this way of doing things here in Kamailio, right? Cool. Where do we go from now? Well, SIP it 31. If you create SIP implementations, phones, servers, anything SIP related, come there. It's 5 days of SIP. Testing, running, discussing, brainstorming, having fun with SIP, learning SIP by looking at code. It's a real interoperability test event, and we're setting up really crazy networks for you. So go there. Your products will improve vastly. In the summer, we're coming back to Berlin because IETF is in Berlin again. And of course, we have a lot of work in SIP core. We have a lot of work in WebRTC. So there's a lot of real-time discussions in there that is interesting, especially the how can we add new features to the SDP without totally breaking everyone's parser discussions that we have in M-Music working groups. That's really fun. See you there, and thank you for listening.